everyone, and thank you so much for joining us all here today. Today's Shir should be Le'ilu Nishmas, our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, and my dear aunt Rivka Bas Gavril Tzvi, and for Zaidi, Reb Shmuel ben Yosef Dov HaKoyen, and the Refuah Shalema Bakarov, Mishalom ben Sarah Rachel, Miriam Bas Sarah, and Yair Yeshia ben Chaya Atara. All right. Guys, on Friday we finished off talking about this idea as to why sometimes we see that the righteous people in this world are suffering while the evil people of this world are seemingly so prosperous, having the most beautiful life. And we just came off talking about how we tell Hashem tells us, if you listen to me, you do my will, and you refrain from doing averos, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to give you that basic sustenance which he promised. Yet sometimes he makes it so difficult for people to do so. And so we came into this question as to why we see so often in life that the righteous suffer while the evil people, they prosper. And so Rav Av said it's an age-old question, and one that there is no real answer to it. The reason he said there was no real answer is because every scenario, every case is different. And you can't give a very general response to it because it doesn't apply to every person or in any situation, or not even the same person, but not in every case. But, however, Rav Av says, I will try to decipher a little bit in general context as to why sometimes we see that the righteous suffer and the evil people prosper. And he's giving some just general ideas that you can put into your thought, so you can have them as tools, so it helps you kind of, work with what you have, so to say. And so that you can kind of put a little bit of perspective when something does happen and you're thinking about it, you can say, okay, you can utilize one of these. I think he's going to give 5 different reasons as to why the righteous people suffer. And I think he gives 6 reasons as to why the evil people are seemingly prosperous. And today we're going to start off with the 5 reasons as to why the righteous people on this world do suffer sometimes, and what those reasons conceptually might be. And he's not saying those are the reasons, but he says these are some of the reasons that it's possible. And he says, having said that the reason, we are on page 100 on the art scroll for those who are following along. Having said that the reasons why the righteous sometimes gain their livelihood with difficulty, and the wicked sometimes live in comfort, are varied and very complex. Rav Av nevertheless offers several reasons for each of these 2 occurrences, and he begins with 5 reasons for hardships experienced by the righteous people. And he says like this, V'im kol zeh re'isi livay be'inyon hazeh ma shehoyer boy ma'at haspaka. Despite all this, I have seen fit to give an explanation of this matter that gives some degree of satisfaction to a person who is bothered by this phenomenon. So he's saying, it's difficult, it's a tough pill to swallow. Like, you're saying if I'm doing God's will, I shouldn't be working this hard to get my basic sustenance, so explain this to me a bit. And so he says, I'm going to give a little explanation for this. V'amar ki haponim asher ba'avuram yimona ma'atzadik his damnus tarpoi ad sheyitrach Allah v'yibachem bai. He says, I submit that the reasons why a righteous person might be hindered from attaining his livelihood until he exerts himself for it and is tested by it include the following. He says, 1. Efsher sheyiyah avan shekadem lo yischayev liparim mimenu Allah. It might be that this righteous person is suffering and has it so difficult on this world. It might be on account of his having previously committed a sin for which he became liable to a penalty that he is now paying. He says, every person who's righteous doesn't mean they don't ever or might have never in the past committed a sin. And therefore, he might have committed a sin in the past and Hashem is punishing him now. As it says in the passage, it says, indeed, a righteous person is punished on earth. And he says he receives punishment in this world. Why? So that Hashem spares him in the world to come. Hashem, I want to go back to this concept and the understanding that Hashem prefers that you have the best of 2 worlds. He'd rather have you have it in Olam Haba. Olam Haba is what we call also the Olam HaEmes. Olam Hazeh is a pass-through. We spoke about this many times. This is a pass-through world. We understand the whole concept we spoke about. Why we're here. So our neshamas can have an aliyah, so our neshamas can have these tests. Hashem, when it comes to a tzaddik, Hashem rather punished the tzaddik on this world for a sin that he committed, so that when he comes up to Shemayim, he's clean. He already paid his dues on this world. V'yeshiyah, the second one, he says, V'yeshiyah derech hatemura ba'olam haba. Sometimes in exchange for an infinitely greater reward that he will receive in the world to come. Kasav, leheitifcha ba'achirisecha. It says in the pasuk, in order to afflict you and in order to test you, to do good for you in the end. Meaning that in the end, that means it's referring to olam haba. And that in the end, Hashem wants you to have the highest level of Gan Eden. And so Hashem might put that tzaddik, that righteous person, who has done so much good, but he has maybe in the past done something wrong. And he deserves a punishment. But instead of Hashem punishing him when he comes up to Shemayim, Hashem says, hey, let's deal with it over here in this world. So when you come up, you're clean. You're good to go. He says the Gemara teaches that Hashem sometimes sends suffering to righteous person out of love for him. He says, Yisurin Shalahava is what he says. He says, and this love is what we just spoke about. The love is because Hashem, we speak about infinitely, that Hashem knows what's best for you always. That is because he loves you. He's why he does sometimes things to you. Because Hashem loves you, knows what's best for you, sometimes he puts you through a tough time. Sometimes he punishes you. But because Hashem loves you, he says, I'm going to punish this tzaddik on this world because I prefer he get a higher level of Gan Eden. I want him, when he comes up to Shemayim, after 120, I want him to be closer to the Kisei Kavod. I want him to sit right next to me. If Hashem didn't love you so much, he'd say, hey, keep it. When you come to Shemayim, I don't want to see you. I don't want to be next to you. Maybe you deserve to go to hell. I don't think you're going to get a piece in Gan Eden at all. And so Hashem shows over here that his infinite love sometimes comes with a little bit of tough love in order to make it better for you later. And the third reason, he says, sometimes it's in order to display the righteous person's endurance and positive attitude in the service of Hashem, despite his difficulties. What that means is, he says further over here, I just want to finish this, so other people will learn from him that they too should not abandon their services of Hashem, even when undergoing hard times. What this means is very simple. You look up to someone. You look up to this person, and this person, you see, this person is suffering so much on this world. You can see people that have problems with parnasa, and they're tzaddikim. They're such good people, and you say, why him? You know, sometimes you say, why me, Hashem? But sometimes you look at another person and say, why him, Hashem? This guy is so good. Why does he have such a hard time? Why does he have so much tsaras in his life? Yet you see this person has such a positive attitude. This person comes to shul every single day, smiles, says good morning, says hello. This person loves people. He loves everyone around him, and you look at the guy and you say, I don't get it. Like, this guy has such a tough life. I also have a tough life. But this guy's he's got like the worst of everything. He's got problems all over, yet he comes in with the biggest simcha in the world. And so Hashem does that sometimes to people that can handle it. Because Hashem knows that those people are going to walk into shul. You are going to see them in the streets. They are going to give you this big smile and this big hello and a hug, and they're going to say, how you doing? Why? Because Hashem needs the person that sees them to say, wow, that person is going through such a tough time, yet still so connected to Hashem. He's so in touch with that. He hasn't lost his love for Hashem. He still goes every single day and he davens 3 times a day. He doesn't make excuses. He learns. He does his thing. He plows forward. Me, what do I have? I have these little problems in my life, and yet I'm going to use those as an excuse to abandon Hashem completely, or to here and there maybe put on tefillin, or here and there maybe open up a sefer. That's why sometimes Hashem says, I need the righteous people, the people who I know can stay strong, the people who I know will stay positive all over, especially in the social circles where others are going to see them, because those other people need to see that. They need to see that you could suffer, you can deal with things, and yet you still are close to Hashem. You still don't abandon Hashem. And that's another big reason as to why sometimes we see the righteous people that they suffer. And it says in the Pasuk, Kamoshi Yadatam Inyan Iyov. It says, as you know by the matter of Iyov, whom Hashem subjected to very great hardships, in order to show that he would endure them and not become disloyal to him. It says over there that Hashem allowed the Satan to do whatever he needed to do in order to put obstacles in the way of Iyov, because Hashem knew that he's going to overcome them. And he wanted to prove that fact. That even though this person is suffering, he's having a difficult time, he didn't forget me. He hasn't let go. Another reason, he says, sometimes righteous people, tzaddikim, they suffer due to the wickedness of the people of their generation. And even in a case where it's clear that the wicked will not learn from the righteous person, the Creator, Hashem, he may nevertheless test him with poverty, destitution, and illnesses. We've heard this in the past. A lot of times Hashem wants to destroy an entire community, an entire city. And we've had in the past with tzaddikim, even in the Torah we've had, where they come to Hashem and ask him, please spare them on the count of this one mitzvah, this one thing, or on the count of this one person that did good. And so Hashem sometimes will say, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to annihilate this city. But someone's going to have to pay the price for that. And unfortunately, Hashem looks for the most important person, because we need the risk reward over here, right? Hashem needs something that's much more valuable in order to afflict that person, in order to make it, that he's okay. I'll use that in lieu of destroying the city, all these people. And so sometimes we see, unfortunately, that tzaddikim, righteous people, that they are punished on this world because they are taking the brunt of what the communities, the generation has done in as far as sin. And instead of punishing the entire generation and annihilating them, Hashem goes and says, you're gonna have to brunt that you're gonna have to shoulder that punishment. Unfair as it might sound, but that's the way it is. In order to exhibit his piety and his service to Hashem, even in the face of hardship, in contrast to his counterparts who, despite their tranquility and comfortable life, do not serve Hashem. This extra effort of righteous one to overcome hardship in the face of the wickedness surrounding him brings additional merit to the world and saves it from being destroyed on account of their sins. That he's saying that when this righteous person, because he still stays close to Hashem, when even he's like, I'm not even the one who deserves this, but because he still stays close to Hashem, that exerts even more effort, and that Hashem says you have extra credit for that, and that's who he's going to use that extra credit to cover the tzaddik, and he's going to cover the rest of that nation. It says, but in truth, it was our ills that he bore and our pains that he carried. And the fifth reason he says is like this. Sometimes it is a punishment visited upon the righteous person because he is not zealous on behalf of Hashem to execute judgment or protest against the people of his generation who disobey Torah. This is something that we're going to learn a few times throughout Shaar Habitachon. When you learn and you fully figure out that you have only full trust in Hashem and you're not afraid of human beings, one of the big things in the Torah talks about that when you see someone do something wrong against Hashem, you got to call them out on it. First it says quietly. You don't have to be embarrassed and barabim. It says you go over to him 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, say, hey, buddy, listen, you're not allowed to do that. That's against halacha, it's against Hashem. And when the person actually doesn't listen even the 3rd time, it says you're allowed to be mavayish barabim. You're allowed to call him out in public. The problem is, what's if this person is the guy in your community that you always go to if you need help? What's if this is the guy who supports the entire community? And you're kind of like scared. Like, why am I going to go over to that guy? The guy, he founded the new building. And he's going to keep on giving. And if I go over to him and embarrass him, he's going to pull the funds. And that's a problem. Or maybe it's for me personally. Maybe it's someone that helps me out. And if I call him out, then he's not going to help me. One of the biggest things in Habitachon is we learn, remember something. That's not the person that's going to help you. It's Hashem that helps you. Hashem sometimes sends messengers in order to get things done. But don't make the mistake to think that this is the person that made it happen. This is the person. If this person wasn't here, Hashem would send someone else. Hashem would figure out another way to get the help that you need. If it's not this doctor, it'll be another doctor. Don't become enslaved to the person or the doctor or anyone who's helping you in this matter. The outcome, the help that you receive is only up to Hashem, and it can be from anyone, anything in this planet. And so what he's saying over here is that there are times that a tzaddik might not have called out someone when he was supposed to. Yes, he refrains from doing Averos. Yes, he does all the mitzvahs, learns every day, davens 3 times a day, does everything he's supposed to. Sometimes what you have to do is sometimes call people out on their sins. You got to go over to them and say, hey buddy, you got to stop doing that. You're going to get punished. Hashem is going to come down on you. You got to stop doing it. And because sometimes there are tzaddikim out there that they're reserved and they're afraid, and Hashem says, no, you were supposed to do that, and therefore you're going to get punished. We learn from this something very valuable. The concept, you need to be more afraid of God than you are of human beings. You know, we learn in Gemara, there's a difference in repayment between a gazlan and a ganav. A ganav is someone who comes in at night, creeps into your house when you don't see them. They hide. If you wake up and they startle them, they run away. It says a ganav pays kefel, pays twice. Yet a gazlan, guy who walks up to you in the street and blatantly just grabs your arm, takes off your watch and runs off, he only pays, I think it was, Ephraim, correct me if I'm wrong, only 1 time or 1.5 times. He pays less than the ganav. Why? Because the gazlan is showing that I'm not afraid of God because I'm stealing, I'm doing it here, but I'm also not afraid of human beings. They're on the same level. I don't care. The ganav is saying to Hashem, I'm afraid of you, because we know Hashem sees everything, whether it's dark in the room or not, or whether someone's home or not. And so the ganav, he's showing to Hashem, I'm only afraid of human beings. Really? You're afraid of a human being? You pay 2 times the amount. Because you're showing that God is second to a human being. What Chovos HaLevavos wants to teach us every single day is that you need to start fearing Hashem and Hashem only. Do not fear a human being. A friend of mine told me recently, there's no change in management. Anything that you have that's good, anything that comes out that's bad is always good, but it's the same management that's dealing with that. There's never a change in management. The person who got you here will get you past this. The person who did this to you will heal you. Whatever it is, no change in management. You have to start firmly on the feeling inside. We can't fear a human being. We do a shtadlus, we do our part. Ultimately, it's only up to Hashem for everything to happen. And that's what he's bringing out over here in this final 5th thing. That this tzaddik is not calling out the Russia or the person who's doing Averos. And so Hashem says, no, you got to call them out. Don't be afraid of him. You didn't, you deserve a punishment. Thank you, everyone, for joining us all here today, and I love you all.